Welcome everybody. Tonight we're doing the develop module in Lightroom. You'll see at the top we have another navigator window just like we have in the library module here, right? So library module is G. If I want to go to develop module, I hit D. I can also click develop over here. And another way to get to the develop module is if you have the icon in the bottom right here, you can go to the develop module there, yeah, by clicking that icon. All right, so now that we're in the develop module, we notice we have the navigator, that we have the same navigator as we have in the library module. You can click here, drag around your image. They've recently changed the format of the numbers up here. It used to be ratios, but now it's percentages. That's the only thing that's different. So 1-to-1 is now 100%. If you had a fingerboard on your laptop, this might be a nice way to move around the image as opposed to like long drags where the mouse click this. So that you might find that quite useful. Under the navigator, we have presets. The preset module has a couple options. When you click the plus sign, you can create a new preset. You can import presets, which is its own file format that Lightroom knows. And you can manage your presets. And if we go to manage presets, you can see all these here that are unchecked are the ones that come with Lightroom. Yeah, they're just default. And I have these, I don't use them, so I have them off. And under these, I have my Anthony Epps photography preset. And you can see that I've checked those. They are now back here. And then my Anthony Epps photography presets are down at the bottom. If you right click on the presets, you can reset them, and you can also go to the manage presets again. Yeah, so you have two options to find that. If you don't know what a preset is, it is a set of instructions that if I click this here, you'll see it just applies an XMP profile to your image. It doesn't have to be strong. Sometimes it's just a coloring thing. If you want to, you can right click and add it to favorites. Or what's more interesting is if you right click on here, you'll see that you get the option to apply on import. Now I have a preset here called on import. And the only thing this does is checks these two boxes under profile, these two boxes here. I just want those checked. I want that applied to every image as it comes in on import. And you'll see that my on import preset has a little plus sign next to it. And that, like the other indicators in the collection, this means that this is the active one. If I go to this one above it and say apply on import, then the plus sign moves. Yeah, so if you see that plus sign on your presets, you know that it is being applied on import. If you make changes to a preset, we're going to ignore how terrible this looks, right? So if I actually wanted to make this decent, it's not for this image, right? And I reset this like so or something, then I could say black glass, I want to update this now with the current setting. So I've applied black glass, I've made a couple changes to that preset, and I want to update it. And I will select everything for this particular one and update. So that preset has just been updated with these curve changes I just made, okay? And you'll see that it's no longer black like it was. If you want to add a preset and you've done some work on it, in this case, I'm just going to do an auto tone. I just imported these. I mean, we'll bring that down, do a white balance, do some contrast. Maybe even some saturation a little bit, right? Now, say I'm happy with that, and it has kind of a summery feel, and I want to record this basic module as a preset. I will just go to presets up here, hit the plus sign and say create a new preset. And I'm going to call this summer evening. Summer Eve. Yeah, because I put a little bit of contrast in there. The option to put it under my default presets or my anti-photography presets, right? So what do I want to be in this preset? I don't want to have the tone curve and the HSL. I want the tone curve back, but I don't want any of these other modules to be in there. So I'm going to say check none. And then the basic module, which is this basic tone. I want all those recorded, and I want the tone curve recorded, and that's it. Yeah, so it's going to record the saturation, these highlights here, everything I did in this box, and everything I did in the tone curve, it's going to record. Yeah, so I say create, and now I have a under my Anthony Epps photography presets, I have Summer Eve. So I can get this preset, go to another image, hover over it. There's another thing I'll show you. If you go to Navigator and you hover over it, it shows you the preview. It used to be just in Navigator, but now you get a live preview in the develop module on the main image. I can apply this Summer Eve to any image here, right? So this is it without, and then that's it with the preset. Some photographers get pretty complicated with presets because you can have one for, let's say, landscapes, right? So you've got a gradation coming down from the sky, which is maybe more contrasty, more saturated, or however you want it, and have another gradation coming up from the bottom, which is in some way enhancing the foreground, like clarity, change of contrast, and add some texture there. And then you could have that as a landscape preset, right? You can use those two gradations for different images. I'm going to do one more example of that. Like I have this image here, and if I go to my graduated filter, there's one in the sky, and I'll show it to you. All right. So I'm going to click new and do another one on the bottom here. I'll show the mask there, right? I'll bring that down. And I'll say I'm happy with that. I'll hit O to turn that off, put my toolbar up. And then for this mask, I'm gonna, let's say, add some clarity, add a bit of texture, and maybe a bit of warmth or something. Maybe this one's just for the scene. So anyway, the point is I have two masks now, right? One here and one here. With my presets, I can say, okay, create a new preset. And I'm gonna say high and low gradations. And what did I do? With clarity. And what do I do here? I'll check none. Only thing I want is graduated filters. And so I create that. Then I can come to another image like this. And there it is, high and low. And it gives me a preview of that preset. And I'll hit backslash and you can see the before and after. So that's just those gradated filters that I've created a preset from. If I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to select this one, bring up more saturation, maybe bring up the highlights, and maybe even add a little bit of dehaze, bring the whites up. I'll select this one, and I'll add a little bit of texture to the clouds, take some of the dehaze out, and then say I like that better for like a series of images. I can make another preset, or I could just right-click on this and say update with the current settings. And you can see that the graduated filters is still checked. And I'll just say update. So now that is recording the changes I just made. So I can go back to this one now and say apply it to this image. I can see it's a bit much there, but if I select that, then I can make my adjustments. Under presets, we have snapshots. I think snapshots is probably one of my favorite things on the left panel, because when I work on an image, I like to keep working on it. Yeah, so this is the out of camera. So if I am working on an image, let's say I do some contrast adjustments. I like collapsing these a lot recently, something I do, right? So I'm making that, put some contrast, put some saturation, bring the highlights down, maybe put a little more magenta in there, darken it. And say I get this far and I'm happy, but I want to keep working. I'll create a snapshot and I'll call this version 1. From here, say I want to make a black and white, and then I want to really just go high contrast with it, and then drop out the whites, do something like this, and then I have a black and white. Then I can say, okay, black and white version. So what this allows me to do, and you'll notice that you can toggle between these two to see what you've been working with, right? So you can have as many snapshots for a file as you want. The thing about snapshots is they're unique to the image you're working on, that they were created with. If I go to this next image, you'll see that there's no snapshots. I go back, and then you'll see there's a snapshot. So they stay with the image, snapshots do. Unlike presets that are global, right? That you can apply these to any image at any time. I can get a black and white filter, black and white look 1, with a preset, and I'll just give it a time, right? And then I'll say black and white 5, and then make that a snapshot. And then I start to have different versions of the image really quickly, really easily. And I think this is a really good way to keep track of your progress with an image, right? If you don't want to, if you really like something that you've done and you want to give yourself a break, walk away from it for a while, which is what I recommend you do. No more than 20, 30 minutes on an image at a time. Make a snapshot, then walk away, and then come back and you can reset it or you can continue on the path you were going, right? And there is no right click options for snapshots, okay? It's just a plus sign. Either you're deleting one or you're creating one. One thing I want to show you about the modules here in Lightroom, if you right click anywhere, you get this contextual menu that has a few different options. If I didn't want my presets to show up here, I could uncheck it and the presets are gone. If I didn't want it to display, and then I check it and it comes back. But there's also, for those of you with small screens, solo mode, which is really nice. I always use this on my laptop because it only keeps one module open at a time. If I turn it off, you can see I can have collections open, in history, snapshots, presets, right? But if I'm in solo mode, I can only have one open at a time. So that gives you a little bit of more real estate, a little bit cleaner interface to work with. And you also have the options to expand them all. I'll just go solo mode for now. We now have under snapshots, the history tab, and you'll see that this image has just been imported and the only thing under history is import and the date. That's the only action that has ever happened to this image. If I go to one of these images down here that I in that film strip and I click on that, then you'll see everything that's ever been done to the image since import is displayed here chronologically, right? So at the bottom is the first and at the top is the last thing that happened. And I can click anywhere in the history to get to that development point. I could even go all the way back to import, and that's straight out of camera, all the way up to my black and white version. You can create a snapshot from any point in the history. You can copy the history settings to before or clear the history above this step, which are pretty handy. I've never used those, but I have created snapshots from the history before. Now I go back to a version I like this has a really kind of brilliant kind of look that I kind of like that. So I can say right click, create snapshot, and then I have the snapshot. And you'll see these numbers here, right? Like vibrance here. Vibrance plus 27 to 27. So what you have here is what this history state did, which was plus 27 vibrance, and you'll see it's now at plus 27. This is the setting here. All right, I think history states are pretty self-explanatory. You don't get a plus button, but you do get an X, which you can, if you hover over it, you say that it says clear all history. And once you do that, I don't think you can get it back. So if I cleared this history, I would have all this would be erased and there would be no states. It would be at this state there, but nothing I could go back to. You might be able to control Z out of that. Let me see. If I clear the history and then control Z, yeah, you can bring it back with a control Z. Okay, under history, we have collections, which we talked about in the library, so I won't go over that. These are all our collections from the library module. You'll see that they're the same. It's just repeated in the develop module. Below all the modules, we have the copy and paste button. So if I got an image like this and I said copy, the dialog is going to pop up and it's going to ask me what I want to copy. I could check all. Probably don't want to copy the gradients or the local brush stuff that are unique to this image. So I'll uncheck that. I probably don't want noise reduction or sharpening either, because if I go to a different ISO, that's not going to have beneficial effects. And I definitely don't want spot removal this time. So I've copied everything from this image except my adjustments from my tools and my sharpening and spot removal. And I'll say copy. And then it's simply a matter of going to another image and hitting paste. Yeah, so it pastes all that information into this image. Another way to do that is if you go to, let me go to this one. Let me go to the black and white one because I'll be more demonstrative. If I say Control Alt C, and then I come over here to this one in the film strip and hit Control Alt V, I can paste that information. When I do use the Control Alt V is in the library module because it also works here. Yeah, so I can get Control Alt C and copy that develop stuff, and then come over here and Control Alt V and paste it on that image. And if I had this one here selected and Control Alt V, this being the primary, it pastes the develop settings in all the secondary images that are selected, okay? We go back to the develop module now. In the copy module here, right? It's just, you select what you want from all the changes you made in the right panel, and you apply it to another image.